Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and we're finally at the release of the second set of the Dragon Ball Super card game Fusion World, and I'm really excited to see what these new cards will do for the game and just the meta in general. And to kind of celebrate that, I made all of these deck lists for the second set. All of them have been updated for the second set. I don't have every leader because I have a couple that I'm not super confident with the builds yet, but I wanted to just have a resource for you guys for anyone just kind of jumping into the set to kind of have just like a place to start for some of these leaders. So again, there's, I think, a lot of ways to just build these leaders individually. These are not going to be necessarily the best builds, but I think they're pretty good to just start off this meta and kind of adapt from there. So I'm going to continually update these too. So if there's a list that I think can do better or can be upgraded, I'll do that as well. And this can be linked on my website, also on my deck builder. If you hit this FB02 decks here, it will link to this page too, which again will be updated continually. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing what the meta is going to look like for this one. And also two more things real quick before we get started. I do have a Win-A-Box tournament next Tuesday. Signups are still live for it. It's webcam and proxies are legal for this too, because I do know that's a little bit difficult for people to get boxes right now and cards in general. So, but I think this is going to be a really good practice session for the first regionals that we have the weekend afterwards. So make sure to check that out. Again, it's going to be Tuesday. It's going to be live streamed as well. And talking about live stream, I do have an entire live stream playlist is going to be added as I get more live streams in the next little bit. But if you want to see any of my testing sessions, they're here on YouTube. They're free to watch. They're linked in the description as well if you want to see some gameplay of some of these decks. Obviously not the exact same builds, but kind of what they've been looking like as well. So anyways, jumping on into it. Yeah, we do have 12 deck lists. We're going to be a little bit quicker through it, but I'm going to tag these all the way through the videos so you know which one you want to go to, you can go to. And all the lists are linked on the website too. So let's just jump into the first four new leaders that we get. We do have the Son Goku, which again, I think a lot of people are going to assume is going to be the strongest deck in the format. And I'm in that mindset as well. It's just pretty much off the back of this 4-drop Kefla being very, very strong, being able to play it off our leader effect too, and it replaces the card that you would draw. So essentially for one energy, right? For a net 0, right? You get to play Kefla and then a 3-cost body. Yeah, usually Son Gohan Adolescence, I think, is the best one of them to be played off of, but we do also have the Kefla. We also have the Android 17, which has been helpful for making our leader 25k, and this card's a little bit sticky. Katsu Pesla sometimes help you like clear wider boards. Sometimes it's a 10k too, so you're not really worried about it. And then even sometimes like Kale is just like a 35k. I like this card. Some people don't. It might be bad, but a 35k that you can play for free for offense, I think, is strong in itself. So other than that, we have some good finishers. Son Gohan Adolescence, kind of the same thing as Kale, but is a 4-drop version of it. And then also Rebriand, which is just, if you just have so much ways to get like a lot of cards in hand, like having a double striker that you can play again for 1 off your hand, doesn't matter. That is 20k. Is fine. And then also Glimpse of a Hidden Arrogance is such a good card, especially like in this deck specifically, because again, like all your plays cost like 1 energy. So if you don't have Kale or Kefla, like let's say they've got rid of your only copies of it, you can do something like you can play Roshi for 1, or even like you can play Piccolo for 1, draw a card, attack with it, and then for 2, you're able to use this card, make Piccolo go to 30k, and then you get to get your Kefla back from your trash or your drop. And then if this is a 4 energy turn, then on the 4th energy, you just use your leader effect to play Kefla again and hit the board. So you had a 30k swing, and then you get a 25k from Kefla, and then a 25 from whatever you play off it, essentially. So I think it's very strong. It's very helpful for the deck, and it just has like really good synergy in this leader when, again, we're so flexible in how we want to use our energy, because our big play every turn, like for again, 1 energy puts 2 bodies on the board every turn, so you can do whatever you want with the others, and you can again be really flexible with it. So this is going to be a terror. It's going to be hard to beat, and I think it's going to be pretty good at the top tables in the first tournament too. So that's my list. We'll see what other people are playing and when their tech choices, but the general engine I think for this deck is pretty good. So next up we have Zamasu, and I really don't know what to do with this deck. It kind of has like the issue where it is too generic, and you'll notice that most leaders in this game right now are very generic on what they need or what they play. Most of them are not archetype based. I think TOP Goku is the exception where it's good, but this one is very open-ended, and since it's kind of a more blue control deck, it's very difficult to make a build like this without knowing exactly what the meta looks like. So I think this deck is definitely going to change from where it is right now to in the future, but I do think the deck does have a lot of potential if it is able to find what it needs to do to adapt to the meta. So I think some key cards to kind of get you in the right direction, though, or at least the cards that are good in my mind. We have Vegeta, which is fantastic for getting cost reduction, and also for being able to, like, it gets rid of a 2 or less on play as long as you use 7 or less cards in hand, which I think is good. We also do have the additions of like our Absolute Lightning, which is a new card, just bottom decks any card for 3. We also have Sinister Sickle, which bottom decks 2 cards for 3. They have to cost 4 or less, but if we have like the Vegeta out, you can get 2 5 or less bottom deck, which is pretty good. And then we do just kind of play like a lot, like the long game. We really just want to get value. So obviously looping Pilaf gets you a lot of value. You can just get a bunch of extra 10Ks in your hand if you need to. Our leader effect also, like we don't really need to awaken anytime soon. Because we are like a more of a control deck. So being able to pay 1, discard a card to heal when you're at 2 alive or less, go back up to 3, and be 25k is good. But again, we don't draw, so that's why we have so much draw. We're using the Son Goten and Trunks package just because this 4-drop draws 2 cards on play, so that's usually generally worth it. And then you can obviously play it off Goku Black. So like this is kind of our finisher for the deck, being able to just get a lot of value off being able to play this, to play Gotenks to get 2 10Ks back into our hand. Zamasu Fuse, some decks don't have a really great way to get rid of this, so it's like a little bit of a sticky target for them to attack into, and it draws a card, which is pretty nice, so we're putting 4 copies there. Vegito Super Rare, or sorry, Secret Rare is not too bad either. Again, nothing too flashy, but it does get like some pressure, being able to bounce something back to hand, and then also do 2 30k swings, which is pretty good. And then Vegeta, bottom decking is better than bouncing back to hand. Again, if you already have Vegito out, it bounces, or bottom decks a 5 or less, which is great. And then we do need some end game pressure at times, so Vegeta lets you do that. And again, since we are so good at like using Pilaf to loop our advantage, and Gotenks as well, we are able to get that additional advantage. So that's kind of my theory for it. There could probably be some better ways to optimize this deck in general, but I think the way that we have to play it is a slow game with a lot of removal, with a lot of ways to just gain value from like a lot of 1 energy, which blue is really good at it anyways, and just kind of go from there. So this is the build. I'm going to be curious to see if Zamasu Fused really takes off or not, if it's able to adapt to kind of the meta, and if it has like an even matchup. If you're able to get to like an evenest matchup against this deck, then this deck will be viable. So there it is. Next up we have Cell. This is one of my favorite characters in the Dragon Ball just lore in general, so I've been really wanting to make this one work. This is the best build I've been kind of working for. I think the deck does have a lot for it, and I think the big thing holding it back is that the TOP Goku is so aggressive and fast that it's very difficult to find time to set up. But if we do set up, then we probably kind of win. So new cards, and we'll see them in other green decks, is Bulma being able to be a 10k, but also cycle cards, which is great. Kami being able to get rid of 1-drops, which is important in some matchups as well, and be a 10k, which is really good too. And then we also have like Cell Jr. Being able to use this card to get any extra card from our trash is actually insane value, especially on a 10k, and we can play it for free off Cell, but sometimes we just play it generically for 2. Like for example, if you play Bulma turn 1, you just discard like a gigantic meteor, and then turn 2 you play Cell Jr. and you get it back. Like that's a free +1 you get, so that's kind of nice. And we're playing then also like the Moa to be able to find extra cards in Paragus. So the issue with Cell is that like we have really good ramp, but only if they awaken us. If they don't awaken us, we're in a bad spot. So generally what we want to do is that we want to be able to get to 8 energy quick enough so we can do the Cell play with this one. And kind of the setup is that I've kind of decided, I don't know if this card is bad or good, but I think I have to say like it's necessary. That's the best way to say it. I don't know if it's a good card, but it's a necessary card for us to do well with Cell, and so we kind of have to play it. If we go second playing this card on curve, it's actually pretty great because we go to 4 immediately, then we go to 5 next turn, and then we can, if we're awakened, we're able to get the ramp for it, right? So going second with this deck, I think, is a little bit better for us, but the kind of the better play also. So let's say we're at 5 energy and 5 life. What we can also do is that we can use Paragus here, which is searchable off the MOA, be able to take a card from your life to your hand, go down to 4, awaken, and then you'll have 5 energy, 2 tapped, 3 untapped, use our leader effect, which ramps a card untrashed, which is really good. And then we go to 4, and then we can go, we have 4 open energy, we're at 6 total, play Cell Games Arena, and then go up to 7 energy, go to 8 next turn. And then lastly, the last combo to talk about, so this gets rid of 3 of your energy, so you go from 8 to 5, then you use your leader ability to go from 5 to 6, being able to, and have one of them open, which means that you can play Cell Junior to get a copy of Gigantic Meteor to use on defense or on offense, and then you can use your Cell Games Arena to go from 6 to 7, which means on turn next turn you'll be at 8 energy again, and you can play another copy of Cell. So that's kind of the combo for it. That's the loop for it. And general gameplay. If you get there, you usually win the game, and if you're able to stabilize, but sometimes it's very difficult to stabilize. So otherwise than that, I think the deck is very good. There's some great stuff for it. 1718 is a great finisher for it. Vegeta is like an okay copy of like ramp and removal at the same time, so we're playing 4 copies of that. And that's kind of just how the deck works. So I think there's some real potential for it. Also, last thing is, like, if we start the turn at like 5 energy, we can like ramp for free, or if we go to 6 energy for the turn, we can use like instant Kamehameha for free, then use our leader effect to get the energy back, and go from there. So there's some like kind of cute little things you can do with like instant Kamehameha with the leader effect. Just depending on your life totals and stuff. So I don't have much more to say about this deck. I don't know if it's going to be good enough to be able to go against red, but when it goes off, it feels really great, and I really like Cell, so hopefully it's somewhat viable. Next up, we have Vegeta, and this started off as like my least favorite deck for our leader for the set, and I guess technically it might still be. Maybe it's like my third. I think I like it more than Zamasu, but I do think that I kind of underestimated the power of like the 1 cost, like what we get to do on our opponent's turn essentially. I saw like time rewound, and I wasn't like incredibly impressed with it because it felt like a worse copy of like a Frieza effect that we had to go like -1 in hand, but the defense from it is really great, and there are some good scenarios where you're able to do it. Death Ball just feels okay. I wish there was a better card, because your opponent can kind of read that you have this card and can play around it more times than not, which is really upsetting, because then you just don't get to get the full value of this. You do get to do it offensively as well, but I think that the card is good for what it is, just in lack of other cards. And in general, I think like Vegeta is good, and I think that we have some good defense properties, but it's just not flashy. It's just that we don't have enough that we can use that 2 energy for to really do something impactful, which is upsetting. But I do think like the Bulma Vegeta package is great. I also think that there's no way to search these early games, so you just better draw it and hope you're a good player. I think that we do have some ways to interact with board early, like this Krillin I like personally. Against green and other colors, just being able to get rid of their cards on board pretty quickly is great, and it's a 10k. So this card might be bad, but I've been enjoying using it, and it's been getting value. Frieza is just great, obviously, and then we have our 4-drop Son Goku, which has been like, it's a great card. It's a 10k, it's 25k. You're able to stun 2 things on play, and I think that's the biggest thing with this deck, is that like Frieza doesn't have like a board wipe for rest cards, right? Like the closest thing that we have to actually getting rid of rest cards is like this Golden Death Beam, which I think is useful against top and other decks. Like you're able to get this really nice trade for it, which is nice. And this Golden Frieza is good too, but like top TOP Goku does not play anything above a 4 cost, right? So this does not interact with that deck at all. And so it's kind of dead in hand. Like you're paying 6 to get rid of 1 copy of Kefla that they can play again for next turn for 1, right? So it just doesn't make sense to play this card against red. It's good against green, obviously, and some like other yellow decks, but I just find like you just don't have enough time to play this card more times than not. So that's kind of my issue with it. But I think it's a cool card. It's just very expensive for doing something that's not super great. And then lastly, I wish this card just KO'd like a rest card, like even if it's 5 or more. 6 or more is so specific. Half the decks don't really play 6 or higher cost, and a lot of them cap out at 5, and again red caps off at 4. So it's tough to see this card being viable outside of just using it as a 25k power boost. Like you can get rid of a copy of Cell or something, but if they're already like hitting you with Cell, you're probably already like a little bit behind. So I don't know. I wish this card was better. I wish like a lot of this I feel like was I hope it's a little bit when the deck goes off and you're able to be like a really good control deck and just stun their board. The deck feels good, but it just doesn't consistently get there, and I feel like it's a little bit slow and clunky at times still. But I don't know. This is my build. Don't let me unsell you from Vegeta. If you have a really great build, I'd love to see it. But I don't know. I was hoping for more, I guess. But this is the build that I have for it. And then we're going over some of the decks that from previous formats as well. So we're going to start off with our Vegeta. I think sorry, with Beerus. Sorry, we're going to start off with Beerus. And I think Beerus is like a really good version, like as another U7 leader that can use the TOP package. I think he's probably the second best, and I think that there are some times that he outperforms TOP Goku, specifically because he has like the crit pressure on the front side, which when you're playing like a really aggressive deck like this one, it's really great for this critical. And then on the backside, we do get some really good removal too. So we're great at like putting pressure on their board. And removing it while also pressuring their life at the same time. So I think that's been very strong for Beerus. And then also we have just so many ways to awaken in red right now. We got some new cards with the Khalifa as well as the Son Gohan Adolescence that it's pretty consistent that we're going to be able to awaken pretty early and not get like leader locked in the sense that we have previously. So we are playing the older like a U6 variant. I don't know if this is better than a U7 variant, but I think the most important cards in this deck are like our turn to awaken is I think really important. So this Khalifa also is just really great. It's a 2-drop crit with on play. Add a card from your life to your hand. So being able to 20k crit from Beerus, 20k crit from Khalifa. Your opponent's probably going to want to take both of those attacks, unfortunately, because they have to get rid of a 10k otherwise. And Beerus is just closer to awakening. So that's pretty great. I think that's strong for the deck. And then so we just have some additional like minor like removal cards. Obviously, Fua is still really good, being able to give something minus 15k. So with her leader effect, minus 25. We also have that with Quetzal, pretty much the same thing. It KOs something. So some cards you can't get rid of all cards with this that have protection against KO, but you can't get around your power hitting 0 in this game right now. So Katso, there's some times where there are some like weird like ranges that you need to get into. So this being able to be played and then attack gives something. There are 2 different things. Minus 5k is great for the deck, and the other thing is like this card's great for Beerus too. Even like before we awaken, we can play this. We are 25 crit with this leader, or with this Android 17. Then we can awaken and then do that. But just being able to be a plus 5k permanently, as long as this card is on the field, is great in Beerus, I think, as well. So not only for defense, but definitely for offense on the unawakened side. So other than that, we just have the regular stuff. We do have a super combo in U6, which is why we're playing this. And I think the deck is. I think this deck is pretty strong. I don't think it's as consistent as top necessarily, but it's very good at. It's more pressure. It's more critical pressure, and it's kind of plays off that a little bit better than top can. So that's why I like this Beerus list as well. I think the other 2 Gokus as well, the other 2 red ones, I think they're just generally right now just inferior versions of Top Ku in general. I think the only one that is like starter Ku could maybe be more of a mid-range deck as well if we can kind of figure that out. But I just never found a build that looked good enough to publish at this moment. So we'll see if Goku comes back around the other 2, but I think Top Ku is going to be here for a while. All right, next up we have Vegeta, which has gotten quite the glow up from set 1. I think he was blue was pretty much the worst color generically for set 1, but I think for set 2 it's been doing pretty good. The big thing for this deck is that we do have like this new 4-drop Vegeta right here. So on play up to 1 Bulma with a cost of 1 from your hand and activate main. Once per turn, if you have 7 or fewer cards in your hand, this gains +5 and your leader. So it just means that for free, your leader becomes a 40k, which is great. It means you have to get a super combo plus to get out of it. And then we also have this new 1-drop Bulma, which is not only a 1-drop Earthling, which is really relevant for cards like Pilaf, but it's also a 10k. And on play, if you have 7 or fewer cards in your hand, choose up to one of your Vegeta cards, and it gets plus 10k power for the turn. So being able to use this card to make your leader a 50k and this a 35k, or you can make your leader a 40k and this Vegeta a 45k. You can just make some really good numbers, especially then you can combo this off. So then a 45k from Vegeta as well as a 50k from your leader. It just adds up very, very quickly. So I think the things that's going to change and going to be more personalized is the cards around the engines. So my kind of choices is that like I've seen some people run Go Tanks, which I think is fair for the deck. I'm currently off it right now. I think 1-drop Zamasu is still really good for bottom decking cards, especially since we have this 2-drop or 3-drop Vegeta in this build for it. It might be a little bit too slow. I really do wish this card added a card from life to hand, by the way. I don't think it'd be like all the other like 3 drops of this stat line. It'd be a 0 combo, which is fine, but I think it would have been great for the on play to take a card from life. But regardless, this helps you get rid of some stuff. You also get like Sinister Sickle. You can also bounce like 3 drops back to hand with Son Goten with it. And I think this is just great, especially as a 25k stat line. It's really easy to defend this guy and also get rid of whatever your opponent just played last turn. So, and since it's bottom decks, it's great, and I think that's good for the deck. So, other than that, Vegeta's pretty aggressive, and I think he has finally like that little bit of a boost to be a little bit better for it. And again, like we don't really have any new cards. Like this 4-drop is great, and then just we're playing this card. If this card didn't have a counter, I don't know if we'd play it, but this gets a lot of good tempo for us as well. Being able to attack twice with it is good. And then sometimes we do just need to be able to attack twice for game, and this Vegeta's there for it too. So, which we can also use this 1-drop Bulma to boost this if we have the time for it. I don't know if we're getting the 6 energy to do that play, but there it is. So, I don't know if you don't like Galakan, you can take it out too. I just wanted to put 2 copies in it. So, that's it for this one. I think Vegeta's going to be really neat, and we'll see how good it is in the next set. All right, next up we have Goku Black. This one is definitely more of a cheese deck, and by cheese I just mean like this is one of the archetype decks, right? I was talking about like most of the decks are really generic. This one you have to kind of play the Zamasu Goku Black stuff to be kind of relevant. And the other thing is that you have to awaken as soon as possible, which means that you are really dependent on this My Future to do so. And with no way to actively search it besides just drawing cards, it's kind of like a flip-flop on that. Did you see your My Future? If not, you have a really uphill battle, which just feels really bad. So this deck kind of maximizes the copies of just consistency in a lot of ways. So being able to use like 1-drop Pan to be able to just cycle early game to just draw 2 deeper into My Future. Also playing a couple copies of Time Ring. I don't actually hate this card, especially since we can use it to help make cards like our new 3-drop Goku Black more consistent, which looks top 3 cards of your hand of your deck to play a 1-drop Zamasu, and then put the rest of the bottom. So, but this being able to like dig 3 deeper, or technically 4 deeper, since if you don't find My Future on the top 3, you put through the bottom and then you just draw again, which is great. So I think this has some chance to be viable to help set up your plays and go from there. We do also have some new 1-drop, a 1-drop Zamasu, which looks top 5 for Goku Black and is can't be KO'd if you have a Goku Black out, which is pretty good. So it's like one of the best targets. So you attack with Goku Black, you play Zamasu, you get the on play, and then it can't be KO'd by your opponent. So I think that's good. We also have the 2-drop Zamasu, which can't be removed from the battle area by opponent's skill, so it can't be bottom decked, returned to hand, or KO'd. It still can lose 20k power and get removed, so that kind of stinks for it. But when attacking, discard 1, draw 1, so consistency there. And just helps us set up for Goku Black in play later. And it's just, again, harder to remove. And then the 6-drop boy here too, which is great. So the other thing about this Vegeta is that their abilities do stack. So if you're able to get 2 copies out, especially if you have like 2 of this 6-drop out, and every turn you're playing Vegeta and you're getting removal or something, I think that's strong for the deck too. So other than that, I don't have much more to say. If this deck goes off, it's the best deck in the format, or one of the best. But the consistency for it and the fact that your opponent can interact with your plays and make sure they don't happen means that we're a little bit dependent on our opponent, I think, half the time. So, but this is my build of Goku Black right now, and we'll see. We were playing 15 copies? Yeah, 15 copies of 1-drop Zamasu, and we still miss this effect sometimes, which feels bad. So I think that's also, I don't know, it plays the card, right? So you need it to be it needs to be like only like top 3, but I get why it misses, and it just needs to miss, and that kind of stings for the deck. So anyways, there's that. Next up we have Trunks, just to kind of round out our blue decks, and this is the one that I kind of want to be viable. I think it's kind of like Zamasu, where it's a bit more of on like the control tempo side, so we do kind of have to respect the timing of like just adapting to the meta. But this one, the biggest thing for me that I like about this leader is that it bounces a 3 or less back to hand, right? If we have this Vegito out, it bounces a 4 or less back to hand, and if we played My Future to make something cost less, we just get advantage, right? We just have so much ways to gain tempo against our opponent, bouncing cards back into their hand. And the only issue where that doesn't matter is if they're playing cards for free off of cards like, again, TOP Goku. So if you bounce their Kefla back to their hand, they're like, oh, dang. Anyways, for one, I play it back out, right? So it's very tricky to get tempo against Goku when they're playing a lot of stuff for free. So that's like the biggest issue for what could be impacting this deck. But otherwise, you do have a lot of good combos. So we're playing 2 copies of this Trunks Future, which go to the bottom of our deck, which means our new Vegeta lets us play it from the bottom of our deck. So we get 2 30k swings for 4. And then we are able to either bounce this back to our hand to play it again next turn. Or if it's at the bottom of our deck, we can, again, just play another 4-cost Vegeta from the set to bring it back. So I think that's pretty good for us. We're more on, like, I'd say, like the control side of the deck too, and getting value and just tempo from bouncing cards back to our opponent's hand. And then we are, I feel like, a little bit, we have the potential to be more flexible with our energy, I feel like, too. So we are playing the Final Hope Slash, and again, Sinister Sickle is really important for some matchups, so we are playing it. So this is kind of like an in-between of like a Vegeta and a Zamasu build. I think, I don't know if there exists space for him to exist in between those 2 builds of the aggressive one and the defensive one, but it could. So this is the build for it there. Next up, we do have Broly, which was, I think, the menace of set 1. I think he's going to be still a little bit viable in set 2. Myself and I think others are ranking him still like tier 1. And maybe we're just like, I can't imagine a world where Broly falls from grace so hard, but it can definitely happen. And we'll just kind of see what happens in the first couple weeks. But we do get a couple new tools, again, like the 1-drop Bulma and 1-drop Kami, I think are very good. Being able to get that ramp there. I'm playing 1 copy of Cell just for fun. There's also the Sensu Bean, which I don't know if this card's good. I've just put it into this deck list to talk about it right now. Do not be alarmed if this does not survive the next iteration of this deck, but being able to heal a life for 5 is great. And in case you guys don't know, you have to pay this cost and then this cost for these kind of effects. So that is why it costs 5, but you get to heal 1. But it's not too difficult to leave 2 energy open at times for Broly and then become a 30k leader against a deck like Goku that has a bunch of 25k attacks now with the Kefla and Gohan. It could be relevant. It could just be the card you need to be able to be defensive enough to get there and be there. So I don't know. If Broly is to be relevant, I think, into survivance against TOP Goku, I think Sensu Bean has to play a part of it. But I also know that like it's expensive and it's difficult to get out of hand at times. So that's also difficult for the decks too. So I don't have much more to say. You can see that most of this deck is the same. I think 8-drop Broly is still very good in this meta, and being able to get there first just helps the deck a lot. So I don't have much more to say, but I think Broly is in an okay spot, but we'll see if that's true or not in the next couple weeks. Next up is we have Android 17, and I like this one a little bit more. It's probably not great, but I do want to mention that I think this deck is fantastic in a lot of ways. And the build I was playing in set 1 was not playing the Dr. Gero Lab version, but I think it is better right now. So again, we will see our same 2 new 1-drops. I think they are very relevant for this deck. We're also playing Android 20, which lets us find some of our Android 18s, including this one, which I think this one's just better in this deck right now. I think there's some better ways that this just allows us to see play with it, and mostly kind of off the back of like this Android 17, 18 that not only ramps us 1, but just lets us be able to get to 6 energy quicker, so we can, and you get to 6 energy and you get 3 energy back, right? This is technically a you pay 2 or 4 for it, and then you end up with 3 energy active at the end of it. So you get some really good recursion with this card and ramping with it. So but the kind of nice thing about this too is that you kind of want to go first with this build, which I know sounds kind of weird, but you want to be able to get just some early value, and then on turn 3 you just play Dr. Gero's Lab off of itself or off Android 20, and then after that on turn 4 you play Android 17, 18, you go from 4 to 5, you have 3 energy open, and then you use the effect from this to go from 5 to 6, which means you have 6 energy open, and then or 6 energy with 2 open, which means that if you are awakened, you are a 30k attack with your leader, and then after that, you're able to use your Earth Destroying Blow to go from 6 to 7. Since we are at 6 energy, we'll have 2 open, and then you just put the top card of your deck into your life. So that means you get to 8, that means you get to Cell, and you get to go off with that one. I don't know if you want to go to Cell or Broly, you could just, if you don't like Cell being able, unramping you can just play Broly instead, and you get that advantage there. But that's kind of the idea. So it's pretty easy for us to end our turn with 2 open. If we don't have Earth Destroying Blow, we can just play Android 18, get a cycle, get an attack with it, and then we will be at 6 or more, so we get a card draw with it, which is really good, and kind of just another target for them to attack into that's not your face. So again, I don't know if Broly's the better top end or Cell is, but I think both are good. And I think we can kind of afford to go to the bottom, because usually what happens, you go from 5 to 6, and then you go like Android 17, 18 just finishes the game next turn if you get there. So I don't know. This is the build for it. I think it feels close to optimized. I'm not gonna lie. I like this deck a lot, and maybe there needs to be some ways to be better against red. But when the combo goes off, it feels great. It's just there are some like minor consistency issues, which I thought I'd hope was a little bit better, but. Anyways, this is the build, and we'll see what Android 17 does. We have Gohan as our last green leader we're going to talk about today. I think the biggest issue about this deck is that we're so dependent on this 5-drop Goku to survive on board for a long time, and I don't think he's going to be doing that in this meta. I think there's just more ways for people to interact with this and get rid of it. I think Yellow might have a hard time with it, but if this card survives on the board, this Gohan leader is fantastic. We're able to be 35k on offense and on defense. If we play a drop Cell, we only lose 2 energy, which is great based on how Son Goku works, and just kind of go from there. I think the other new card that I underrated personally too, but shoutouts to Dane for queuing me in on this. Activate main once return if your leader Son Gohan childhood. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards cost 5 or less and add to your zone energy. Then add this card. So essentially, if you don't want to give your opponent energy, this is just a better copy of the 3-drop. The name I'm just forgetting all of a sudden. Destructive Strength. So like it's a 5k version of it. You get a 15k attack in case that's relevant, and then you can just put this into your energy rested. So it is rested, so you don't get active for any of your 1-drops, but being able to use the Son Goku to ramp inherently, I think is really, really good. So we are also playing like the Trunks Future and Son Gohan Future package. This card becomes like a little bit better when you can't KO it outright. Also, like current builds of like Top Goku don't really have consistent ways to do -20 to this. It's usually -15 off the Gohan, and then minus something with something else, which means that you can just block this as a 5k and then you get the ramp with it. So that's fine for the deck. I think this is a little bit better as a blocker right now, with Yellow not being as present, but Blue can interact with it, bounce it back to hand. But no, sorry, this you can't be removed from your battle area by skills. So the only way you can get rid of this is like this 3-drop blocker is with the effect of a with minus power with red. So I think that's good. Also, you can play the Trunks Future, so you get the ramp from there too. So this card does start ramping for you. This card's way better, obviously, but since we're having to play these Saiyans, I wanted to try it out. It's okay. Being able to use this to KO a 3 cost at the end of turn 2 is not terrible either. And it's a 5k, 30k, that's also a 10k counter. So any release from that, I think, again, like Gohan has potential, but with this card not being as permanent as I think it used to be in set 1, I think this deck's going to be really impacted by just the decisions you have to make about your energy, which is really tough. So not really much more to say, but I hope Gohan does better than I think, but I don't think it's going to be relevant, but we'll see in the next couple weeks. And then lastly, we have Frieza. Frieza, I think, was arguably second best, if not best leader in the last set. Just very consistently very good, and I think you kind of just like lost some identity with this set, where we didn't really get a lot of new stuff, and we do still kind of have to run like the Bulma Vegeta package is really good if we see it, right? And that's why I keep saying it's really good if you see it, especially since this Bulma is activate battle to switch a card to rest mode, add up to 1 card from your life to your hand, then choose 1 to do the effect to get it back. But being able to do this means, like, 1, we're not playing like the Ginyu package anymore because we're not seeing enough of the Ginyus, and it is like a better copy of like the 1-drop blocker Ginyu. Also the fact that we're able to switch something to rest mode if we need to. So like there's some good reasons that this Bulma synergizes with Frieza in itself. but I don't know. It's just like the consistency there is not immediately present. But we do kind of, I think, want to awaken to 4 as soon as possible. We are playing the King Cold package in this one specifically because I think this card is really good. This card just is able to block a Kefla swing, and then it's able to KO the Kefla. So like, it has really good interactions against decks like that. Like this is one of the few ways we can actually KO in Frieza. So being able to play this guy out, get the block, and then and like the attack and then the block, and then you get to KO something, I think is good. We also have like Golden Death Beam in this one too, so I think that's strong for it. We have the other copy of King Cold, which is new from this set, which can sometimes get a double block, not always, but sometimes. And then also the new Goku, which is great. So I know we're playing a lot of 4 costs, but it's because we're playing the 5 cost Mecha Frieza, which lets you play a King Cold with a cost of 4 from your hand. So again, I think this is the better target for it, but being able to play 225Ks is not too bad. We have to pay 5 energy for it, while Goku has to pay 1 energy for it, but I digress. We do have some better, we got a blocker out of it, which is kind of neat. And then we have our Golden Frieza top end with the 6 cost secret, which I don't know if it's too expensive. It's good against green, which is sometimes a hard matchup for this deck, but otherwise I think the deck is, it's just fine. It's fine. You do get some value from it. I think it can do okay, but it's just kind of missing something. So I don't think there's really a fantastic build for it right now. If there is, I'd love to see it because I do like playing Frieza, but I just haven't found something that I think can compete in what I think is going to be the meta. So anyways, that's going to be it for this video. I know we've been rambling for 35 minutes, but I did want to go over all the decks real quick and kind of go over my thoughts. If anything's wrong, or if there's a card I missed or whatever, this is day one. There's sure to be mistakes. There should, nothing super optimal, but I did want to go over, get my thoughts out. And for people who are building decks for this one, I wanted to just give some examples for y'all as well. So that's going to be it for this one. Again, make sure to check out the website as well as my event, as well as my previous live streams. And that's going to be it for me. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.